Hello, everyone, and welcome to the May edition of Techspert Talks. I'm Troy Rainey, and I'll be your host for today's session. Today's Techspert Talk session is Qlik Cloud Admin 101 with our own Umberto De Domenico. Umberto, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, thanks Troy for inviting me. I'm a technical adoption specialist in Barcelona, and my main focus is Qlik Cloud, Qlik Sense Enterprise, and helping out our customers for any onboarding issues that may experience. I've been with Qlik for 8 years now.
Fantastic. All right, today Umberto is going to walk us through users and groups in Qlik Cloud. We're going to talk about apps and spaces, the differences and the workflows. And we're going to be viewing some different administration tools that are available and take a look at some task chaining and refreshing. Umberto, can we get started with the hub? Can you give us a quick feel for where things are?
Sure. This is the hub.
Okay.
Basically, we have the insights, analytics, and administration contexts. The
Right.
data integration is out of scope of this.
Sure.
And the idea is that these three contexts reflects three different types of business users. Business users, the ones explore data within apps and make decisions based on their selections. And then we have the analytics users, developers, if we like. Last ones are the administrators, the tenant admins.
And most users won't be able to see all those options because they'll have slightly limited rights, but we're targeting Qlik Cloud administrators, so hopefully they'll have rights to see the administration section.
Yes,
How do we customize this tenant?
of course, this is the tenant host name. You can rename this host name by going to administration context. In here, you have different options, and we're going to go through some of those.
Mm-hmm.
The main one we should be looking at now is settings.
All right, display name.
Display name is the name displayed within the cloud, but the host name is what you want to change.
So that alias hostname is what you could actually put in the URL.
Yes.
All right.
So if I do this one, it's going to tell me, oh, it's unavailable for use. The alias host names are unique. For instance, adding, let's see if that works. Oh, here you go.
There
It
it
worked.
worked. Very nice. I think one of the first things that admins need to provision when they're starting up their new tenant is to get users on the tenant. Can you tell us about the IDP that you set up on this tenant?
Yes. In Qlik Cloud, we use OIDC.
Mm-hmm.
And for this tech talk, we have chosen Azure, Microsoft Entra ID IDP, because it's the most popular and easy to show. But you can use any IDP you want. There is a very useful article in our Qlik community.
This article goes through how to set that up.
Yes, it's very easy to follow, and it's just a matter of going through each step provided here.
I'll provide the link to this so people can visit this. Yeah, it's very detailed on how to set all that up. Great. And what license model is this tenant using?
Okay, here we are using the capacity license.
Okay.
In Qlik, we have two different types of licensing or subscription. One is a user-based, and the other one is a capacity license.
What is the big difference there?
The main difference is that in the user-based licenses are based on the number of users, whereas the capacity model, the license is based on the amount of data that you use.
So what's the advantage of capacity licensing?
Gives more flexibility for our customers because rather than focusing on the number of users, you can have unlimited free basic users.
And that's just people who want to use apps, look at apps, analyze data, and you can have an unlimited number of people for that.
Exactly.
Very cool.
And the full users are the developers. You purchase the license depending on the amount of full users you want. This is something you have to define with the sales.
So where do you get your users from?
Right. In a blank tenant with no configuration whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a mechanism which allows you to invite users via email.
I see. With Azure as the IDP, is there a way to push users to the tenant without having to have them go through that invite process?
Yes, we can put in place a mechanism which is called SCIM. so that Azure will push all the information related to every single user to Qlik Cloud.
Where do we find the documentation for using SCIM?
You go in here, manage, and you start exploring this article. Simple as that.
Oh, it's
Not much
the
to
help
do.
page.
Yeah, this is very easy. Yeah. Press on the enable and copy the token and the URL because I'll need it later for Azure.
Okay, great. And we're looking at Azure, and the first step is to create an enterprise application. Can you show us how to do that?
Yes. Going
Okay.
here.
And we're creating a new application?
Yes. We create a new application.
Qlik Cloud is not listed there. That's fine.
Create your own application. I'm gonna use the host name and then I put SCIM.
And that's your Qlik tenant ID, right? Before any customization.
Yes, this was the host name. Click on create.
All right.
Go to provisioning. Click on new configuration.
This looks right. Okay, tenant URL and secret token. That's what you copied earlier, right?
Yes, and I pasted into this notepad.
Okay.
And now the secret token, paste it here.
All right. You want to test the connection? Yeah. That looks good. Great.
Okay.
Okay, next step from the documentation, mappings.
Yes. This is the tricky bit.
Preview.
Attribute mappings. Try the users. And here we need to remove attributes which are not needed.
Okay.
The attributes that we need to keep are basically username, active, mail, and formatted will be kept.
Okay. We don't need delivery office, address, city, state, postal code, country, telephone number, mobile, facsimile. I think if that was a trivia question, what does fax stand for? I don't think I would be able to remember that. Facsimile.
We should be done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, any other changes we need to make?
First of all, we start with username. First of all, the source attribute should be object ID. And the matching precedence here should be true. Then we have the email should be edited and the matching precedence should be set to 1. Mail nickname should be changed to object ID.
Okay.
Yep. So let's recap. We have a username, 2, email type value, 1, and external ID, object ID. Okay, this is done. So we can save it. Now we need to populate this enterprise application with the correct user and groups.
Okay. Is it possible to just add the groups? And if you add the groups, will it provision all the users in that group?
It's enough to add the groups, and the users within the groups will be also provisioned.
That's fantastic. So let's pick a couple groups and add them.
Let's pick up, for instance, the retails and sales and marketing.
Okay. So all the users in those groups will automatically get pushed to Qlik Cloud.
Correct. We want to double check those groups. Retail, for instance, has 3 members assigned.
Okay. Henrietta, Miriam, and Patty.
If we look at sales and marketing, we have other 3 members.
Megan, Nestor, and Pradeep. So once this finishes, we should have 6 provisioned users and 2 groups.
Correct.
Great. Look at that. And
and here we can also see the users.
Awesome.
If we want to see also the provisioned users ready to log in but not done it yet, we can go to provision.
There they are.
Yeah.
Great.
We can obviously configure it upfront before they log in, providing them the correct roles and entitlements.
So now that we've got some users on the tenant, how do we import apps?
Well, the first thing we have to do is to decide in which space the app is going to be stored. Because
Okay.
in Qlik Cloud, we have the concept of spaces. Let's go to analytics, create, and then in here
Okay.
we have the space option.
Can you tell us what the differences are between these two types?
Yes, share space. When you want to co-develop an app, then the app should be stored in a shared space. The main space is a place where user consume apps.
So that's where you would publish the finished apps ready for analytics.
Yes, let's create first a space called space one, which is a share space.
All right.
Create new.
Is upload an option there?
Yes, this allows to the same menu we had in the create section. So I create space two, manage space, and then create.
All right, we've got our two spaces. Can you tell us about the catalog that ran?
Yes, the catalog section is very useful because it allows us to segment the content inside the tenant based on spaces. And we see space one, space two, and personal, the working area for just single users.
Okay.
And also we have the possibility of filtering based on the type of objects. And as you can see in Qlik Cloud, we have many objects, not just apps.
Right.
Let's say that we want to upload two apps inside space one. Click on the create new button, then upload.
Okay.
I have these two apps here, and I can add. Here you can select spaces. We don't see the manage space.
Okay.
The manage space is usually where the apps are published.
Okay. Well, great.
Yep.
I know as an admin, an important thing is to keep the data fresh and updated. Can you show us how to schedule reloads?
Yes. In the three dots here, you can see that we have a reload now option, but we can also schedule the reload. And then you can create a new task.
Right.
We have different options here. The day when the reload needs to take place, time zone, time of the day, and run this continually from start date until end date or between start and end dates.
That's a lot of options there. Okay. We got our first task.
Close this, and we can create a new task to consumer sales. Click on schedule here, create a new task. I'm gonna go a full reload based on what? On the success of another task, the task we created earlier, which is in space one, the app. And then, as you can see here, we can implement a task chain very similar to what we used to have in Qlik for Windows. So this is the task chain based on a successful reload. Say that we now want to launch the reload. We'll see the reload has started. The reload has been completed. The details of the reload can be displayed in this section when we can see the reload history. Okay.
Okay.
One point I would like to discuss is performance evaluation allows tenant admins to understand how demanding this app is.
Okay.
So by clicking on this, you can evaluate the app. You can launch an evaluation app. It will allow eventually for the user to understand how demanding the app is.
Very cool. Now, both of these apps are currently in a shared space. How do we publish these to the managed space so that users can consume them?
Yes, go to the three dots. You have different options, and one is publish. You will publish it to managed space.
Okay.
Publish this to space two. Now, the original app is in space one, but in space two, we'll have a copy of it.
Okay. How are the rights different between the app in the shared space and the app in the managed space?
Yes, permissions for managed space and shared space are different. And let me show you what type of permissions we have for the space one. These are the different type of permissions we have for shared spaces.
Mm-hmm.
If we go to the main space, we'll see that we have other type of permissions because those relate to different type of actions.
Okay, so it's slightly different terms here.
Yes. So in the online help, you see what type of space action are available depending on the type of permission. Keep in mind that you have actions inside the space and inside the apps.
Okay, I'll definitely
Yeah.
include the link.
You can add members the space one, both in terms of users or groups. Say, for
Okay.
instance, you want to add the retail group. So now the retail people, once I click on add, will be able to view, create notes, alert, description, and export data and view content.
On any apps inside this space?
Correct. You can select other options. The difference between these two is that the Kennedy data and apps would allow the user to develop apps which belong to other users. You can click on add. The user belong to the retail group will have access to this space. In the manage users groups tab, you can create custom groups, not just using the existing from the IDP, but you can create inside Qlik Cloud custom group. So create on this one. So this is a custom group, and you can give permission to this custom group, which may have users belonging to different groups in the IDP.
Very cool. Now, I heard about a new feature in Qlik Cloud that allows you to build folder structures. How does that
Oh,
work?
yeah. If you click on analytics section, say you want to add folder structure in this space, you can
Hmm.
click on space details, then details, then data files. And in here, you can set up a folder structure. For example, folder one, create. You can upload datasets of any sort inside this folder one,
Okay.
and so on and so forth.
So it allows you to organize all your data files in a folder structure on the cloud.
Yes. And the permissions will apply to the folders the same way as for a space.
Okay, very cool. Umberto, how can admins get a view of the tasks they have on the tenant?
In the admin console, there is a section which is content. Content includes apps, scripts, data flows, data connections, and data file or datasets.
Okay.
So for each app, you have the option to click on the right-hand side and see the schedule and also see the history.
Okay. But is there a way to see the full schedule of reloads happening on the tenant at once?
For that, it's a good idea to install a dedicated app, which is the Reload Analyzer app. That takes us to automations. If you go to the analytics here,
Yeah. Where's automations?
it's not listed. The admin needs to have some specific roles assigned, even though he's an admin person.
Interesting. So, how do we actually get rights to run an automation?
We go to the administration. In the manage users, let's pick up this user. I recall I have two Umberto De Domenico. The first one is the service account owner. He
Right.
first logged in into the tenant. The second one is from the IDP.
And you're currently using the Azure user,
Exactly. And you can see here because this icon currently
currently
logged
logged
in.
in.
Go to manage roles to change the role of this admin guy, or you can also do it by using the permissions tab. Here I have all possible security roles.
Mm.
You can see there is an automation creator role. So I need to add it, click on this one, select the user and assign it. You can also see in here, there is also the automation creator now, and also other permissions like owner space 2, owner space 1, so on and so forth.
Mm.
So let's go to the waffle menu in the analytics option now.
Oh, there it is.
So now here we have the automations. If you don't see it, just refresh the page. And we see a totally new world where we can actually create automations. Click on create new automation button, a new window with many templates.
Yeah. Is there a template for importing all those monitoring apps?
Absolutely. We have Qlik Cloud Monitoring Apps Installer. We have a very handy article in the Qlik community.
Very cool. So this goes through all the steps we're about to do to import all the cloud monitoring apps that are helpful for admins.
Correct. And we can use this template.
All right, real quick, on the left, we've got a bunch of different blocks to help build connections. In the center is our canvas, where we're building out that workflow. And on the right are all the settings details. And basically, if there's a red dot, it's looking for some input from us.
Right. This template is ready to be launched. Shall we go ahead and do it?
Yeah, let's see it in action.
Yeah.
Automation saved, so it's nice it does the saving.
Should I install a developer role to the existing user now? Yes. Developer
Okay.
role is the role which allows the user to create API keys.
Okay. It's so cool that it does that for you. Oh, so we need to log out and log back in for those new permissions to apply. Okay.
So let's log out, log back in. So log back in, we can see the automation now as an object. We can open it in the editor and continue the installation.
All right, so it's picking up where it left off.
So now we can enable API keys on this tenant now.
Okay.
Expression set for the API key.
Okay, so there's 6 different apps it's going to import.
Yes.
And which one was it that allows you to see all the tasks on the tenant?
The reload analyzer.
Okay.
Auto apply required roles. Yes. We can say create new spaces. One is a share space,
Okay.
and the other one is a managed space. One of the best practices we recommend is to have the apps which needs to be co-developed inside the share space, and when the app is ready to be consumed, will be published into the managed space. Monitoring apps for the managed space.
Great. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Reload it. Yeah. Creating a reload schedule. This is so cool. So it's asking you what that schedule is specifically.
Yeah, really cool. This is a recap.
Okay, so that's all the settings we've chosen.
And now it's going to go through the installation of the app. And every time you run the automation again, it's going to check if the app already exists and if it needs to be updated.
Okay, so if Qlik makes any improvements to the apps, running this automation again will update them.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. While this is running, what app would you like to show us on a different tenant that's perhaps been running for a while and has some data to look at?
Okay. I think it's good to check the reload analyzer. The reload analyzer allows us to distinguish between different type of reloads. These are total reloads, but the reloads can be scheduled, launched from the hub by using an API call inside the app, reloaded manually, task reload, and finally, it could be an automation reload.
Very cool. And this table has a list of all the reloads on the tenant and a lot of information there as well.
Yes, we have very important points for the tenant admins. For instance, the latest reload peak RAM.
Right, because during a reload, the tables are expanded, the data model is reconstructed, and it can consume more data than normal usage.
So why we need to keep an eye on the reload peak RAM, because there are guardrails that have to be considered.
Right, depending on your subscription, there might be limits to that. Can you show us where that's documented?
Yes, this is for the capacity tenants. If you scroll down here, you'll see that we have different type of editions. And you see the peak reload memory can be up to 34 gigabytes when you launch the reload within the hub.
Well, it's good to know that the guardrails exist, and I'll provide the link to this for reference.
It's a long list, so we don't have the time to go through that. But let me add one thing.
Sure.
Sometimes apps are bigger than the limitation provided here. In that case, tenants can request a large app support. We have packages which go from 20 gigabytes to 100 gigabytes.
That's good to know. I would recommend that if you are running up against one of these guardrail limits, just reach out to your account manager because there's always something that can be done.
Absolutely.
Is there another admin app you'd like to highlight?
Yes, let's have a look at the app analyzer. We have very useful information inside the app. So in the session overview, for instance, in here, I see which are the most used apps.
So this is a really cool app. Looks like it's helping you really analyze the user activity on your tenant.
Yes, for the apps specifically. There's also information about the metadata. It gives us the app memory footprint, app reload peak RAM.
So where should admins be looking when they want to monitor how the tenant is performing?
We can go to the administration events option. This is where the tenant admins can go and check, for instance, login failures, reload failures, or success, of course, external authentication by API keys.
Umberto, since this is a capacity tenant, what other tools are there to help monitor the amount of data that the tenant is using?
We do have distribution app. You can go to the settings. This is a very special app. You
Okay.
need to go in here.
Detailed consumption reports.
Yes, click on distribute. This
Okay.
is not like any other standard app. If you want to reload it, you need to click on distribute.
Okay, now that the consumption report's been distributed, can we open one up and take a look at it?
Yes, I'm going to open a similar app, but more data.
Okay, so this is a report that's been running for a while, so it has a little more data in it.
Yes, exactly. And as you can see, we can explore based on the type of analysis we want to do. For instance, if you click on data for analysis, we see how much data on a monthly base we're consuming
Oh, that's
with
great.
some peak days and which app ID is involved. We can also check the data sets, which are consuming a lot of bytes.
Well, this is very cool and seems like a very powerful report. I'll be sure to include a link with more information.
Yes, this gives you a great overview of how you're consuming data inside your tenant and take action if you need to reduce cost.
Great. Well, now it's time for Q&A. Please submit your questions to the Q&A panel on the left-hand side of your On24 console. A few questions have already come in, so I'll just read them from the top. First question: how do security rules work in the cloud?
We don't have security rules anymore in cloud, so forget about it.
I mean, yeah, basically that was a feature of ClickSense Enterprise on Windows, and now we've got all those settings on the administration section that really addresses all those things.
Exactly.
All right, that's fair. Next question: are there any plans to increase the reload frequency options?
Frequency can be modified at will if the option we have in the app section is not enough. Use the automations to set
Oh,
it
that's
up
right.
in the frequency you want. Let me show that to you. This template reload apps as a text chain. If you click on use templates, in the that here, you can say this is going to be scheduled, but also if you want to
Every
schedule
30
it
seconds.
every 30 seconds, every minute,
Wow.
2 minutes, 5 minutes, I think that's
So
enough,
that's
isn't it?
well, that's great to know. There's a lot more settings available if you set it up as an automation.
Also, every load can be triggered by an API call at any given time. So you can trigger the reload also externally by using an API call. This is the API endpoint that you would be using V1 reloads.
That's great. And I'll definitely include a link to this site, qlik.dev, with information about all the API calls. Next question: how can I disable the option in Qlik Cloud that allows users to be searchable via the global search, along with displaying additional user information? I guess they're trying to figure out if their user data is available externally.
Well, this question is not clear to me because inside Qlik Cloud, there's no way to search for users. Unless you're a tenant admin, of course, then obviously you can go to the admin console and search for the users. But other than that, the information is highly secured. If you have any concern about security, you can go to our link where we show the trusted certification we have.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next question. Following the acquisition of Cloud Cover for migration, which customers will be able to access this feature? Will there be a cost for it? When will it be generally available?
The good news is that the new tool will be available for all users for free. no charge. However, I would recommend you to reach out Qlik because we have a specific department which make everything easier for you to understand how to set this up and to provide you all the information to a certain extent, obviously free of charge.
All right, next question. We should have an option or feature to remove user space access for people who have left the organization in one go. Is it considered in any future releases?
What I can say is that we do have a place in the admin console where you can remove spaces, but for instance, the users should be removed from IDP if you're using IDP, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, it depends. It's very generic as a question, so it's difficult to answer, but we do have areas in Qlik Cloud where you can go and remove whatever is needed.
Next question. How to manage mass import of Qlik user AD groups from Okta and manage access security. And your demo, Umberto, we did it from Azure and Enter ID. Is it possible to do a similar sort of thing with Okta?
Oh, SCIM is applicable to Okta as well, to any IDP. SCIM is a standard available for every IDP. So you can use SCIM, I will. Or you can use other options. For instance, even in Azure, you can use what we call YAM, which is a way to access directly from Azure API calls to Azure and get this information. But it's a lot more complex, and SCIM is immensely easier and fast. So recommendation is to use SCIM.
Great. Next question. What about direct access data gateway?
Yes, if the organization is concerned about security, we can facilitate this with a double tunneling security mechanism, which requires the installation of a client on an internal on-prem server, which is acting as a bridge between Qlik Cloud and the databases we need to connect to. That's a Qlik Data Gateway Direct Access.
Very nice. And I'll include a link to some more information about that and even a video we did recently demonstrating how to make it work and troubleshooting any problems.
Yeah.
Next question. Are there any popular API calls that you're aware of?
Oh, there are many. And the recommendation is to go to qlik.dev, select API, and then REST, and go through all the possible API calls we provide.
Great. Next question. How to use Qlik CLI?
Qlik CLI is again an handy tool for tenant admins to automate any type of activity. CLI is a command line interface which is using behind the scene the API calls at the end of the day. So you can use CLI, which is easier, or directly API calls.
Yeah, Qlik CLI is great. I did a recent Techspert talk with Frank Savino all about how you can manage Qlik Cloud tenants like this one purely using the Qlik CLI command line prompt. So I'll include a link to that. And last question we have time for today. What about section access in spaces?
It's no big deal in terms of you just need to change something if you were using that on-premise, because now the users are based on the claims which are coming from the IDP. So you need to keep an eye on that. There is a very handy examples which shows you the type of information you need to add into the section access. Basically, you work with the UPNN, user principal name, in the IDP, which for us is the email address. So you can use that, or you can use groups as well. I guess here down here you may have also groups. Here you go.
Great. Umberto, thank you so much for all the time you put into this demonstration. Going forward, we will try to keep this content fresh and up to date, so we'll be coming out with future sessions. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Troy, and you all for joining.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this session. And special thank you to Umberto for presenting. We always appreciate getting experts like Umberto to share with us. Here's our legal disclaimer. And thank you once again. Have a great rest of your day.